I still wasn't sure that he had actually struck it. I made that clear. Like, Rock, you tell me. Whatever you want to do, brother. And he was telling me, I'm fine. Let's just get past this. I'm getting out of here. I can't believe this happened. The LAPD came and needed to talk to Chris. And so they came into my office and they were laying out very clearly what Chris's rights were. And they were saying, this is battery. We will go get him. We are prepared. We're prepared to get him right now. You can press charges. We can arrest him. As they were talking, Chris was, he was being very dismissive of those options. He was like, no, I'm fine. He was like, no. And even to the point where I said, Rock, let him finish. And they said, would you like us to take any action? And he said, no. He said no. And I didn't have any conversation with Will. But the Academy said...
Oh, yes! Righteous Radio, Shabbat Shalom, Israel! Judah! Woo! Righteous Radio with DJ Yaakov! Coming at ya! Oh, yeah! Righteous Radio, where the truth is the sound. Righteousness is in the atmosphere. Can you feel it? We winners over here, man. Oh yeah, you know what it is. Judah, the Most High's true prophets are back. The true prophets are black. Ha ha! Righteous Radio cannot be stopped. Another startling episode. Shalom.
Fair use. Fair use.
Oh, wow. Will Smith...
The feed goes silent, and so does the audience after Will Smith takes a swing at Chris Rock on stage at the Oscars. It all went down after Chris made a crack about Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, and her shaved head.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? that was a nice one. Okay.
While Will appears to laugh at first, things immediately turn sour as he takes to the stage, slapping Chris straight across the face.
Uh-oh, Richard! Oh, wow! Will Smith did...
The sound on the broadcast suddenly cut out in the moments following the altercation, but international markets saw the feed in full. Will shouting at the top of his lungs, "Keep my wife's name out of your mouth." Clearly shaken and unsure how to proceed, Chris responds the best way he knows how, with another joke.
That was greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
So what happened next? E.T. has learned that Denzel Washington and Tyler Perry pulled Will aside for a private chat during the commercial break that followed. Denzel was up against his pal for the Best Actor trophy at the show.
I mean, it's a lot of emotions. This is a long time, I think a long time coming for him. And it's a lot of emotion. It's probably all welling up in him right now, so it better be him.
The trio hugged, and it appeared things had calmed down. A source tells E.T., quote, "The theater was silent after Will got up and hit Chris. No one could tell if it was staged or a joke at first. It was incredibly awkward for the whole audience. Will's friends and team have been trying to calm him down."
Oh, wow! Wow!
As for why the joke may have hit a nerve for the couple, Jada was diagnosed with alopecia in 2018, a hair loss condition which she has spoken about publicly many times.
And y'all know I've been struggling with alopecia, and just all of a sudden one day, look at this line right here. Look at that. Look at that. And so it just showed up like that. Now this is going to be a little bit more difficult for me to hide. So I thought I'd just share it so y'all not asking any questions.
And earlier in the night, co-host Regina Hall made a jab at Jada, which could have also contributed to Will storming the stage.
Will Smith, you're married, but you know what? You're on the list and looks like Jada approved you, so you get on up here. Get on up here.
It's also worth noting, Chris made digs about Jada when he hosted the show back in 2016, too. So there's history here. Will got a chance to address the incident when he won the Best Actor honor, his first ever Academy Award.
You got to be able to have people talk crazy about you. In this business, you got to be able to have people disrespecting you. And you got to smile and you got to pretend like that's okay. Art imitates life. I look like the crazy father, just like they said. I look like crazy father, just like they said about Richard Williams. But love will make you do crazy things.
Slapping people at the Oscars. Wow. What are they up to? This is quite the distraction. What are they up to? I got a lot to say about this. But let me show you the last time Will slapped the taste out of somebody's mouth. Watch this.
Oh my God, a dream. There you go. There you go. What the hell is your problem, For 6 months.
Maybe them rolls is starting to get to Will's head, huh? That was warranted. Because the little prissy boy, the little sissy boy kissed him in the mouth. Because I probably would have socked him, actually. I probably wouldn't have just slapped him. I probably would have socked him for doing that. But Chris Rock, that was different. Maybe he really think that he's some of the parts that he's playing. Because if he slapped the wrong person, if he slapped me like that, first of all, I ain't about to let you walk up on me like that. If you walk up on me like that, I'm going to be, I'm going to be prepared for something. And if you slap me like that, we're going to tear that. Hey, the Oscars would have never been the same. We're going to tear that stage up. Me and you, we're going to tear that stage up. You slap me in my mouth like that. Slap me upside my head like that. But the thing is, you slap him upside his head for telling a joke about your wife. But the man who slept with your wife, you ain't touched him yet. You ain't put your hands on him. And you let her, you know what? I'm going to go into it more, but hold on. I got some more to show y'all before I really go into this.
She looks beautiful even though she has no hair. Yeah, it's like, damn. And your whole relationship's been all over social media and the stuff, and that's what finally broke you? A fucking joke about G.I. Jane? Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. That was like, you never condone violence. I never condone that. And believe it or not, a lot of teenagers, people in high school, they watch the Oscars and they look up to all you people, even though most of y'all are like scum of the earth. Yeah, batshit crazy. You guys are like role models for so many people because you're so talented at what you do, and for you to do that, yeah, and then you up there crying and afterwards talking about love will make you do crazy shit. No, the devil will make you do crazy shit. Love ain't got nothing to do with it.
He's protecting his wife. Well, where was her protection of a man when she was at the red table talking about what she was doing with this entanglement? Where was her protection of her husband? Chris Rock is a comedian.
Exactly.
What comedians do, they can do this better than anybody else. They can take a real-life situation and make it funny. That's what comedians are. Comedians take situations, and that's why I say, we up here all the time, Skip. I say there's truth in jokes. Ugh. That's what they do.
There's the most truth in jokes.
So now what we're starting is an emboldened precedent. I'm saying something about somebody, oh, look at that weave, or look at this hair. Oh, man, bro, what you got on, man? That's terrible. He walks up on stage. What he should have done is what DC Young Fly did last year when somebody came up on the stage and whipped him. Because, see, this is going to be out there for perpetuity. But also would have been out there for perpetuity. I'd have come up out that tux. I'd have whipped Will Smith ass.
I know you.
I would have whipped, he'd have had to whip me, or I'd have had to whip him. And every time I see him, it's on sight. There ain't nothing to say. And hold on, I'm watching him at the Vanity Fair, and Will Smith is carrying on like ain't nothing happened. And then you apologize to the Academy. After the Academy, you need to apologize to that man. Skip, let me tell you, there's three things, especially in our community. You say the N-word, you spit on me, and you slap me. Because if you go back when we were less than, that's what they did. They didn't punch you, they slapped you.
Got it.
Because that's the ultimate sign of disrespect. When you hear somebody, they don't say I'm gonna punch you, they say I'm gonna slap the you know what out of you. Because
got it.
Because that's the ultimate sign of disrespect. When you hear somebody, they don't say I'm gonna punch you, they say I'm gonna slap the you know what out of you. Because that's the ultimate sign of disrespect. Will Smith, in his crowning achievement, he finally won an Oscar, and he's had some performances that he could have easily won one. Now, Will Smith won the Oscar in 2022, but this overshadows it. He's never going to be able to live this moment down. What should have been his greatest moment, his joy, is marred by this.
Because most people anticipated he was going to win Best Actor.
Right.
Okay.
And so now you take the moment away from Venus and Serena about their dad, the story about their family and their dad. You stole that moment from them. Why? Because he made a joke. This is the first time I get it. Chris Rock said something back in 2016 when Will Smith said he was going to boycott, and Jada said she wasn't coming also, and Chris Rock said, well, they didn't invite you anyway, so nobody gonna miss you. But Skip, this for him to do that, considering some of the things that she had said at her round table about an entanglement, he ain't slapped that guy. That's the guy you should be mad about.
Yep.
Now, all of the points that Shannon Sharp made is all of the same points that I thought of when I saw what happened. But he hit on something. The reason I played this Shannon Sharp clip is that he hit on something that even I didn't catch. Cause I was saying the same thing. You ain't looking for Augustina, whatever his name is, to slap him about sleeping with your wife. You ain't looking for him and slapping him upside the head or whooping his behind. But you're going to get up there on the stage at the Oscars and prostrate yourself and make us look bad as a race in front of everybody. They already think we unintelligent, we barbaric, we niggerish, and you go up there and seemingly confirm everything that they believe about us as a race. Now, I don't give a doggone about the Oscars. I don't watch none of them awards. They all heathens in Hollywood. I really don't care about it too much. My eyes is on the Father and and what we doing in the kingdom, and to try to get ready for this coming war and my Father's kingdom to come. That's what I'm concentrating on. I really don't get into the worldly stuff, but the only reason I'm even focusing on this, because the whole world talking about it right now, but it's a distraction. It's a distraction, and it's something that's about to happen. Usually when distractions like this come up, there's some type of distraction that's about to come under our noses and happen. Because they want everybody to be talking about this and thinking about this, and then boom, World War III, or I don't know, I ain't gonna say World War III yet, but Shannon hit on something that out of all the points that we all talking about, and there's a lot of people that's saying the same thing. You ain't slapped that other boy. Why you trying to slap him? You want to be a tough guy when it come to him, but the dude that slept with your wife, you ain't no tough guy with him, huh? The little young boy who, is young enough to be her son that she slept with, and the little young boy who was a friend of her kids. That's how she apparently how he was even around her. and she wound up sleeping with him, but he ain't slap him. But this is the point that Shannon made that I want to touch on. When he said, you stole the moment from the Williams sisters because you won an Oscar playing the Williams sisters' father, and now you stole that moment from them by acting a fool at the Oscars the way you did. This may be the point that we missing. This may be the point that we missing, black folks. You see, they don't like attention to be drawn to a strong black man in America. They definitely don't like attention to be drawn to a strong black man at an event like the Oscars. So had he just won an Oscar playing the Williams sisters' father, it would have even more elevated the Williams sisters' story as far as having a strong father that propped them up to be what they were able to be. They want to take as much of the focus off of that as they possibly can. I think, and yeah, I'm an old conspiracy theorist, call me what you will, but I think it's something to do with that. We thought it was acting at first. When it first happened, when I saw it last night, I saw it on Tariq Nasheed, and he was saying how he thought it wasn't acting, that it was real. And the abruptness of it and the way it happened and the way that Will was, yelling after it happened, and just the whole ambiance of it told me that it was probably real too. But my initial, when I first saw him walk up to him and slap him, of course, like all of y'all, I thought, is this part of the show? Like, what was that part of the act? Well, it was real, but, there's a but. There's a but. Was it? Meaning, did Will's handlers tell him to do that? To take a little bit of the fire out of him winning an Oscar finally for a movie that's uplifting a black father, a movie. See, he didn't win an Oscar even when he played the role where he was a gay dude, or he was in the bed with another man. He didn't even win an Oscar for that. I'm surprised, because they love that in Hollywood. But he winds up winning an Oscar when he's playing the role of the Williams sisters' father, a strong black man that prepared his daughters to elevate themselves to become arguably the best female tennis players ever, and he did it his way. And he protected his daughters. He was a strong black man. He wouldn't let the media portray his daughters in a certain way. He stood strong. And Will wins the Oscar playing that man. And they want to take the focus off of that, even though they say, look, we're going to give you an Oscar because you did such a good job. We can't help but give you an Oscar. But boy, we're going to throw a little monkey wrench in it for you. We're going to give you this Oscar, but on one condition. I'm throwing this out there as my opinion. This is just my opinion, and this is just my take on it, because it's just so weird and so strange that this happened the way that it happened. So this is just my opinion, but I'm just throwing this out there as a possibility of an option. And I'm speaking to those of us who are in the know, and we know we know that there is an elite that's running things behind the scenes a certain type of way. We know who run the media. We know the Zionist Jews run the media. Those of us who are not still asleep, I'm talking to you. Think about this. When Bill Cosby tried to buy, what was it, CBS or NBC, whichever one, all of a sudden all these charges come out on him, and he wound up locked up at an old age. They bring all these charges from years ago and lock him up. But y'all think that's a conspiracy too. They lock him up, but the lady who said, the lady who lied on Emmett Till and got Emmett Till killed and murdered comes out years later when she old and say, I lied about that. But they don't lock her up because they said she too old. But Bill Cosby ain't too old to get locked up for some stuff about some rapes, supposed rapes that happened years ago. You have to watch these things and have your spiritual common sense on. Now, Will Smith significantly wins an Oscar playing a strong black man role about a strong father that they couldn't stand. They couldn't stand the Williams sisters' dad because he wouldn't take no crap from them, from the media, from none of them. And he trained his daughters up the way he wanted to do it. They wanted to come in and give their suggestions on what he should do, or they wanted to take over. He was like, no, I got this. These are my daughters. And he was a strong black man. Now, Will wins an Oscar playing him. How do they take the focus off of Will Smith winning an Oscar playing a strong black man? I'm just saying. I don't know. I'm not saying for certain that, I'm just throwing that out there. Now, for some of you dumb Negroes, for some of you stupid Negroes who think that what Will Smith did was a good thing, and I call you stupid, you say, oh, you calling people stupid and you supposed to be, speaking on behalf of the Most High. The Most High calls you stupid. He said you are shoddish people. I read you that scripture. He said you're a shoddish people. Shoddish. Look up the word shoddish. It means stupid because we think stupid. We do stupid things. You think that, it was a good thing because he was protecting his woman and black women are not protected. That's true. Black women are not well protected enough. But in that particular instance, what he did was stupid. At that time, in that particular situation, it was stupid. And anybody who thinks otherwise is thinking stupid. I'm going to show you why. Let's look at the fallout.
We're here at the Vanity Fair Oscars party. Are you excited? Is this a party you love every year?
I'm excited. Been coming to this party for many years. Always meet a lot of people that I'm a fan of and who are my heroes. So look forward to that.
How did you feel about the show tonight?
I thought it was one of the best shows. It was most exciting, fun, best representation, funny as hell. And then there's an unfortunate incident, but I thought I killed.
The unfortunate incident, let's discuss it. What was your reaction?
It was like at first you thought, oh my God, it's a skit. Oh my God, wait a minute, there's no punchline. Whoa, it's a punch, not a punchline. And you're like, oh, that's really unfortunate.
And how did you feel about Will's speech?
I would like more of a straight apology to Chris. That would have been great because I thought Will's performance was amazing, and I'm sorry that he tarnished it with his behavior. Nobody likes to be made fun of, but you got to have a sense of humor about yourself. Can't take yourself that seriously. We're just acting. Let's just relax.
What do you think the Academy does from here?
I don't know. That's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. He said in his speech, "I hope I'm allowed to come back." I don't know.
Well, you're somebody who's been in this business for a long time, so I wanted your thoughts on it because you know what it's like to be in the headlines, to do all that.
We all get hot-headed. We all get excited. We all take ourselves a little too seriously. But there's a lesson to be learned for all of us. Everything is a learning opportunity, a life lesson.
Sarah, to you first. How do you, and I just want to be clear, there's so many vectors in this story, and I wonder how you're making sense of it this morning.
I got 3 words for you. Use your words, Will. You are an actor. You are a rapper. You have people that write things for you. You're a smart guy. Use your words, not your fists or your hands. It's that simple. I think you sat there and watched that, and I think everybody was shocked only because they thought it was part of the skit at first. And did you notice? He was laughing at first until Jada clearly wasn't, rolled her eyes, and then he gets up and goes and does this. But it really took away so much from everybody that was there and from the moment. I have to be honest, I'm a little embarrassed that I'm even talking about this right now. We've got inflation that is crushing families. We have millions of refugees who are running for their lives, trying to find refuge, mothers and children. And we've got Ukraine, which is literally on fire and being bombed. This was a moment that did not need to happen. And now it's trending on Twitter instead of 1,000 other things that are far more important. So that's where I stand on this. Watching that was really, really disheartening and disappointing.
Look, it is a lighter thing, the Oscars in general. And those moments of achievement could be a light moment for people to revel in. Today they aren't. That is for sure. Eric, I wonder what you think of what you saw.
Well, what elevates this story is the reaction of the Hollywood establishment. It was bad enough that Will Smith took it upon himself to physically attack Chris Rock because of a joke he told. But then when Will Smith went on to actually accept the Best Actor award and receive a standing ovation from some people in that audience for what he did, the Academy put a short statement up on its Twitter page saying that it didn't condone violence. But in this case, it did. Will Smith was allowed to accept his award. He was given as much time as he wanted to speak, well over 4 or 5 minutes. And as far as I can see, he didn't pay any real consequences for what he did. And I just wonder, there are so many people, we're having these conversations about cancel culture, but here's a situation where a comic told a joke and then got physically assaulted. No one in the room really seemed to penalize Will Smith for it. The Academy didn't penalize Will Smith for it. The producers of the Oscar cast didn't penalize Will Smith for it. We now hear that Chris Rock is not going to press charges. Who's going to ensure that someone pays a price for committing an act of violence on live television?
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
Jim Carrey weighed in on Will Smith's Oscar controversy during a new interview with Gayle King for CBS Mornings.
They asked Chris, do you want to file charges? And Chris apparently said no, he did not.
He doesn't want the hassle. I'd announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous.
Jim Carrey was on hand promoting his new movie, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but yeah, he made it clear how he felt about Will Smith's actions on Sunday night.
You do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.
Since Sunday night, the Academy has launched a formal review into Smith's actions on stage, and Will has since issued a statement apologizing to Chris Rock, saying in part, quote, "I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line and I was wrong. I was embarrassed and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be. There is no place for violence in a world of love and kindness." On Sunday, Extra spoke to many stars who also weighed in on Will's behavior. You watched the show. I'm sure you saw the moment everyone is talking about between Chris and Will. Your thoughts?
I don't condone violence. I just don't see any reason for it. I do know that if you could have any comedian and the rest of the show, everyone was being ridiculed in some way.
Right.
The only difference was, I think if you're a celebrity and you're in there, you know that's going to happen.
Sure.
Maybe, this was his wife, so it was different.
Right.
But I'm not sure you run up and punch someone in the face.
If you remember, Chris hosted the Oscars,
Yes.
and brilliantly. I mean, I just remember it was just kind of like better than anyone.
Yeah.
And Chris is a genius comic that has been doing it for many, many decades. and the premise being that these indeed are jokes.
Do you think as a comedian, though, you should ever worry about needing to be censored?
You know, I think anytime, you know, Chris is one of those comics that he and Chappelle are the GOATs, and they're like the youngest, oldest comics in the world. They've been doing it since they were kids. And I think, you know, the contract you set up with the audience is that these are indeed jokes, and we have to embrace our freedom of speech.
Like John the floor.
First of all, do you know like that joke that Chris did? I remember when that movie came out, and that was a way to insult a woman, her sexuality, her physique. It was a way to call a woman a homosexual, basically. And she's sitting right next to her. It was like that. I remember that in school. That they would do that to people. You know, it's kind of messed up.
Now, let's talk about the ugly side of all this. If you look on the screen, you see Will Smith hugged up with a guy by the name of Benny Medina. Benny Medina is a top record executive. I don't know what he's doing now, but over the years he was running Warner Brothers at one time, or he was high up in Warner Brothers. I don't know if he was the actual CEO of Warner Brothers, but he was, I forget what his job was. He was very high up at Warner Brothers. He's a big wig at Warner Brothers. And he is very homosexual. He is a part of the what they call the LGBT, blah, blah, blah. I can't even say that alphabet crap. He's a part of the LGBT community. Now, why is that relevant to this story? Let me give you some history on DJ Yaakov, meaning myself. Back in the 90s, in the late 90s, actually it wasn't so much the late 90s, it was probably the mid 90s. I was trying to make it in the music industry. And there was a manager by the name of Marlon Prescott that came to Columbus, Ohio, looking for new talent, looking for specifically an artist that could compete with Luther Vandross. And he ran across a friend of mine at a hotel, and my friend told him about his brother, who was at the time, one of my producers. He was one of my producers that I was working with on music at the time. So Marlon Prescott called my friend and my producer, whose name is Ben Davis, and said, "Hey, I'm looking for some talent. I'm looking for some singers, some entertainers, and I'm looking for somebody specifically to compete with Luther Vandross, or shall we say, my label that I'm representing is looking for somebody who can compete with Luther Vandross." And the label he was working for was Atlantic Records. The lady that he was working for, her name was Sylvia Rome. She was the one that was running Atlantic Records at that time. Now she's been promoted, I think, I just heard she got promoted to one of the bigger labels recently after all these years. But anyway, at the time she was running Atlantic Records, and they was looking for somebody to compete with Luther. So, make a long story short, how does this link in with Will Smith and Benny Medina? And this is kind of a long story, but if you listen to what I'm saying, I'm going somewhere with this, and it very much links into Will Smith and what's going on with him right now spiritually. Now watch this. So Marlon Prescott he told Ben that he was looking for a singer. Ben said, hey, I got somebody that sounds just like Luther Vandross. His name is James Brown. James Brown? Oh my God, his name is James Brown too? Yeah. So anyway, he called me. He called me up. Ben gave him my number. He called me up. He said, hey, my name is Marlon Prescott. I'm looking for some vocalists. I hear you sound like Luther Vandross, and I'm looking for somebody, a balladeer type, somebody that can, sing that type of music to sign up to the label. I said, well, yeah, I sing. And me being an honest cat, I actually was signed to a production contract with some guys in Columbus that had a record label. It was called New Breed Productions. And I had signed a deal with them to be my producers, but Ben was my producer as well. Like on the side, we worked together, but I was actually signed to these other guys. And they were very good at what they did. They were high-level producers in Columbus. And so I told him, I said, I'm signed to them. And, I just want to let you know that up front. He said, okay, well, give me their number and I'll talk to them. So I gave him their number. Long story short, before you know it, they had talked to Marlon, and my album wasn't done yet, but they had a group that was called New Era. And they had a bunch of songs already done. My songs weren't done yet, so they sent him a demo of their songs. And before you know it, they had convinced him to, or he had convinced them, Marlon Prescott had convinced them that, hey, I want to sign you guys to Atlantic Records. I can get you a deal. If I can get you a deal in a week, would you sign with me as your manager? And they said, yeah, sure we will. If you can get us a deal, a major record deal in a week, we'll sign with you. And I wasn't tripping on it because it started with me and they wound up getting the deal, but I was signed under them. So if they got a deal, I got a deal. So I wasn't tripping, right? So as it turns out, they signed a deal with Atlantic Records. He got them a deal within a week. It was a $500,000 deal. I think it was like about a 3-album deal. And my deal was supposed to be signed next. So they were working on songs for me so I could submit my demo, and then I could get my own personal deal up under them. And everything was hunky-dory. Now, Marlon Prescott, the reason why I'm talking about Marlon Prescott in this situation that happened was that Marlon Prescott was very good friends with the guy you see on the screen, Benny Medina. And he used to mention Benny Medina all the time. He said, yeah, Benny Medina is a good friend of mine. Benny Medina is running Warner Brothers, and he's a good friend of mine. Maybe we can get you signed to Warner Brothers. Blase, blase. So, as things progressed, all of this stuff wound up falling apart. I mean, they had and one day I got a call from Marlon. And when Marlon called me, he seemed very distraught. And Marlon said to me, he said, man, your boys is tripping. I said, what you mean? He said Angelo and Maestro, because Maestro was the other guy. It was a two-man production team. They called themselves Maestro and Angelo, or Angelo and Maestro, whatever you want to say. He said, your boys is tripping. Angelo and Maestro is tripping. They said they don't want me to be their manager no more. Now, this was after, of course, they signed with him. He got them the deal, and they had got an advance, which was a bunch of money. And, all of a sudden they fell out with him, and they wanted to get out of the deal, and they didn't want to get out of the deal, but they didn't want him to be their manager any longer. But they didn't realize, I guess they didn't realize, that in this wicked music business, the mob runs the music industry. Different boulets in the mob, the mafia. That's why the music industry and Hollywood is so wicked, It's run by different facets of the mob, which are different facets of secret societies. I ain't gonna go all into that because some of y'all don't believe in that. You goofy as all get out. Because listen, it's scriptures I can go into, but trust me, there are secret societies behind this country that run different facets of it. I don't think any of you would argue that the mob is not fictional. The mob is real, and the mob runs the music industry. But anyway, they wanted to break away from Marlon, and they were accusing him of stealing money from them. That was why they wanted to break away from him, supposedly. And he wasn't happy about it, but he was calling to tell me about it because he maybe felt like I could talk some sense into them. But they didn't really listen to me much. I mean, they were the type of people that they had all the answers supposedly, and they wasn't gonna be listening to me, even though I was the one that originally hooked them up with Marlon. But I just hooked them up with him. They took it from there. So they left Marlon and wound up that they didn't realize that Marlon had the influence that if they wasn't going to stay signed to him as their manager, he was going to shut down their deal. They thought that Atlantic Records was going to stick with them because they was the talent, even though he was the one that got them signed to Atlantic. They thought Atlantic would stick with them, and Atlantic did not. So Atlantic Records, what they did was they just strung them along for about 5 years after that, telling them that they was going to put their album out, but they just needed this one last song to complete the album, and we just need this one last hit, and once we hear it, we'll be ready to put the album out. And they kept doing songs and saying, is this the one? And they was like, oh, that's a really good song, but nah, that's not it. We need something better than that. And they strung them along. Basically, they put their album on the shelf. But Marlon, the reason I told you that whole story is because Marlon was good friends with Benny Medina, and he had shared with me back then, before I even knew, he shared with me that the story of the Fresh Prince, Will played Fresh Prince on that show, Fresh Prince. That story was the story of Benny Medina's life. It was made about Benny Medina's life. That was the role he was playing in Fresh Prince from Bel Air. And what I want to say is this. Just like with this whole story about what happened with me with the record industry and this, that, and the third, when I was dealing with this stuff, a lot of the information that I was privy to let me know that this industry is rampant with LBGT. It's fags all up through the. I know a lot of y'all don't like when I say that word. That's just what they are. That's what we call them. But they all up through the industry of music. And many of you already know that, but I don't think you know to the level that it is. Just about all of them is fags. And to get to a certain level, I thank the Most High that I did not make it in the music industry. I was very close. As you see, I was dealing with people who could have put me right up on the top of the whole thing. And my talent level is such to where if I would have got in, I would have been successful. I would have been able to compete with Luther. And I'm going to tell you something else. Luther wasn't that good at singing fast songs. I could sing fast songs or slow songs, so I would have been very successful. But that's not what the Most High had for me. The Most High knew that if I got in that industry, that I would have been successful. And he knew that if I had been successful on that level, there would have been hoops that they would have tried to make me jump through, just like they made Will Smith jump through hoops. And some of those hoops might have been homosexual hoops, although I wouldn't have jumped through those. And matter of fact, it was one of the executives that just through gossip, my producers told me, one of the executives that was going to help me supposedly get a deal when we were linked up with that whole situation, his name was Merlin Bob. And Merlin Bob was a homosexual. And supposedly, Merlin Bob had a crush on me. Now, I'm wondering in my mind, how in the hell Merlin Bob had a crush on me and I ain't never met Merlin Bob? I'm going to tell you, it wasn't so much that he had a crush on me. What it was that in this industry, you have to jump through hoops and you have to lay on the casting couch to get to certain levels. So what it probably was that for me to get a top-notch deal, I was going to have to do something with Merlin Bob. And I'm going to tell you something else. That would have been where it would have ended anyway, because I don't got a homosexual bone in my body and it wasn't happening. I would have said, thanks, but no thanks. But these are the type of things that was going on with these people in this particular clique, and that's how they get down. You didn't heard about it. Different artists that have had to sleep with men, different male artists that have had to sleep with men. Some of y'all heard about it. Because that's the devil's industry. And some of you Christians saying, yeah, we told y'all about the worldly music, but you know what? Gospel music is worldly music too. You know why? The same artists, the same labels that sign in the secular artists is the same labels that sign in these gospel artists. They sign to the same labels. You think they ain't having to do things to get up to a certain level like the Kirk Franklins of the world? You can think that, but you don't know what you're talking about. I used to be in it thick. In the talking circles. It's things I could tell you. I could go on for hours. I used to look, I'm just telling you the base things that happen. But I'm just telling you about the industry and people like Benny Medina. So Will Smith, getting back on topic with Will Smith, I don't think many of you realize like that thing that happened at the Oscars the other day, and then just looking at Will Smith and his whole circle of existence and his whole career, I don't think many of you get it. And I'm going to lay it out for you right now. This is what's going on. Will Smith started out as just a regular rapper. He was a pretty whack rapper. His raps was pretty whack. He wasn't no good rapper. He was just he had a few hits that they pumped out there. But Will Smith was somebody that they chose to put on a certain level. And Will Smith had to jump through certain hoops, though, to make this happen. He was just some regular dude, rapper. He wasn't even that good. He wasn't no LL Cool J. But he got chosen. Why? Because some of the most powerful people in the industry at that time was who he went through. And he jumped through the hoops that they had him jump through, which was probably being sodomized. In return, they built him up to what he is. See, the devil builds you up to knock you down. He'll build you up and promise you all of the just like he did Christ when he took him up on the mountaintop and said, all of this I'll give to you if you bow down and serve me. Of course, we know Christ cussed him out. Like, nigga, if you don't get out of my face with that bull crap. But many of these stars, it's the same way. The devil is offering them, whatever they want. In return, though, they have to give up something. They have to give up their soul, literally and figuratively. They have to give up their soul in the sense that they have to give up their dignity. They have to be buck broke, just like they was talking about buck breaking back in slavery, where the slave master would sleep with the male slaves, would sodomize the male slaves in front of their wife just to show his dominance. The same way today, the devil is buck breaking these stars. Yeah, I'll give you all the money you want. I'll give you billions of dollars, but you gonna have to sleep with this man and that man. You ain't gay, oh well you are now. If you want this money, hey, what you gonna do? You gonna turn down this money just because you don't want to do a few acts behind closed doors? And these guys, these heathenist guys, get sucked into that. Even though I came out of Christianity, the religion of Christianity, I thank God for being raised up in a belief system that made me have the healthy fear of God that would have stopped me from ever doing something like that. I mean, I always thought that being a faggot was nasty anyway, so I don't think under any circumstances I would have ever went down that road. But I'm just saying, who knows? You know, who knows what you would do if you don't have a foundation of God from a young boy. And even though now I think that some of the stuff that we were taught, well, y'all know what I think about Christianity. God did not set forth a religion. God has a people. And those people are supposed to follow his laws, statutes, and commandments and teach the whole world to follow his laws, statutes, and commandments. And that's what it is. Religions were made by man. Man came up with religions. That's why there's so many different avenues in religions. In Christianity alone, it's thousands of different belief systems and doctrines within the religion of Christianity. Islam, all of that stuff. God did not. God does not authorize any of those. He ain't in none of them. And that's what it is. So even what I was raised in, it was not the right thing. It had the blueprint of some of the right things, but it wasn't the right thing. We weren't being taught the right way because we didn't know who we were. This is an awakening that we're going through right now, where we finding out who we are as a people. We didn't know who we were back then. We thought we was Gentiles, and we were taught that we were from the seed of Ham. Nothing could be further from the truth. But getting back on topic with Will Smith and this whole thing, the devil demands a sacrifice. G. Craig Lewis came out with a video one time called "The Devil Demands a Sacrifice," and he was talking about the demonic things that go on in the music industry, and that's true. G. Craig ain't right about us not being the Israelites. He don't know what the hell he talking about that, but he know what he talking about some of the stuff that's going on in the music industry. And like I said, don't y'all think that the gospel artists are not a part of this demonic stuff too. Y'all done seen just like the Preachers of LA show and all of the stuff, the heathenist stuff that, man, come on. They putting on a show. It's an act. They serve a God, but it ain't God. It ain't the God. It ain't the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Will Smith was put on a pedestal so that he could be built up And his family can show the black community what a new age, heathenish family represents. In other words, why do you think that they put these artists up on a pedestal? Because they know that they will be role models to these kids. They know that they will be role models to some of these adults as well. So when they go out here and do the things like Will Smith does with his family, where he go out here and him and his wife is swingers. I mean, a long time ago we was hearing that they swingers. They like to swing. They like to swap sex partners, and you know she probably sleeping with women and all kind of stuff. And they said he's a fag behind the scenes. And then look at his son. His son is transgender already, or he's fluid. They call his gender fluid. He has fluidity. How you fluid when you look down, you got a penis between your doggone legs. I'm just gonna give it to y'all straight. What's fluid about that? You a man. You a boy. You a man. What's fluid about it? Ain't nothing fluid. But they call it gender fluidity. That means he can wear dresses and be feminine, but also be a boy at the same time. And then this new age of kids being able to pick their gender. Will Smith is the poster boy for that. His family is the poster family for that. They put him there for a reason, because they know some of y'all look up to these stars. So if it's okay for his son to be gender fluid, then maybe, just maybe, they can influence your mind to let your kids be gender fluid. See, the devil comes in subtlety, and he gives you a little bit at a time. If he give it all to you at the same time, then of course you ain't gonna go for it. But he gives it to you a little at a time. So by the time our kids is adults, then it'll be black folks out here accepting the fact that they son want to be a girl. Right now, you know, we don't go for that in our community. But more and more you see, I mean, 20 years ago, you didn't hear no black people saying they shouldn't whoop their kids. But now you hear black folks talking about, oh, I don't think it's right to spank children. And then your kids out here getting spanked by the police because you didn't spank them in your house, because the Most High told you to spank them on their sides. But you want to talk about the fact that, oh, well, whooping your kids came from slavery. It was a Bible before it was ever slavery, and the Bible said, whoop your kids. What the hell are you talking about? Stop trying to be like the white people. Stop trying to be like the heathen. You are a chosen generation of people. You are a chosen nation. And you don't know who you are, but you are the people of the book. And Will Smith, this whole thing, his whole family is on stage showing you what they want you to represent as a new age black family. What the devil is trying to implement on you. He's trying to influence you. And it's to the point where some of these churches is even getting influenced, to the point where, you know, you got pastors like I showed in my last Righteous Radio broadcast, is TD Jakes fake behind up there talking about he's evolving on the LGBT issue. What is there to evolve about? Do the Bible evolve, Negro? And some of you pastors that follow behind him, you can't have no anointing on you, because the Holy Spirit would bear witness against him to you. But it takes somebody else to be skeptical about him and to show you things about him for you to say, oh, well, maybe he is a little off. What the hell is wrong with y'all? Now, if Christianity was the right way to go, why was our parents letting us trick or treat when we was kids? Now, in this day and age, the Christianity, people starting to realize that Halloween is evil. And some of y'all still don't think it's evil. Some of y'all still let y'all kids trick or treat. And you let them go out there and you say, well, he dressed up as Moses. Moses ain't about to go out there on All Hallows Eve when they killing babies and sacrificing babies and this whole demonic holiday is pagan. He wouldn't be out there asking for candy, tricking like some whore, some satanic whore for a treat. And our parents let us do that devilishness when we was kids, but they supposed to have the Holy Spirit. I'm just saying. They didn't see nothing wrong with that. I know knowledge supposed to increase in the last days, but they didn't see nothing wrong with that. Christmas, Christ wasn't born on the 25th. I ain't going to go into it, but I mean, all this stuff has come from paganism, come from the Catholic Church, and the Protestants kept it, and y'all link yourselves more. In Christianity, we link ourselves, or y'all, because I ain't in that no more. In Christianity, you try to more so link yourselves to the Protestant side, but the Protestants, they kept a lot of this paganism comes from the Catholic Church. Now, getting back to Will Smith. He was the one that played Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, played Benny Medina's life. You think he got that role without having to sleep with Benny Medina? I'm telling you he didn't. I'm going to show you a thing where Benny Medina tried to rape some dude in his house. He's a flaming faggot. So Will Smith and what he doing with his family, what he's showing with his family, and his daughter's a lesbian too, I think, from what I understand. Just look at the pictures of her. She looked more like a boy most of the time. I saw a picture of her the other day, and I thought it was his son. These people, look at Dwayne Wade letting his son go out here and be a girl. I can't stand Dwayne Wade now. I pray for him, though. But I used to be a big Dwayne Wade fan. The NBA player, some of y'all, if y'all don't know who Dwayne Wade is, married to that actress, I can't think of her name right now, but his son identifies as a girl. And he letting him do it. They propping these stars up and trying to use these stars to soften your mindset on heathenism, because they know you love them. They know y'all love them. And I know y'all saying, oh, well, we know Will Smith is he's a heathen and you know, we don't love him all like that. You know, he had a couple movies we like. Yeah, but y'all love him. But y'all love Tyler Perry so much that he making movies as a woman, and he and TD Jakes church, like I showed on the one video, he and TD Jakes church laying hands on TD Jakes, who's supposed to be a top preacher for the Most High, supposedly. The Most High of devils, not the Most High of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Y'all love Medea so much that when they came out with the movie about Nat Turner, at the same time Medea's Halloween was coming out a few years ago, y'all went to see Medea's Halloween more than you went to see Nat Turner, to the point where the movie wasn't even successful. That was one of the best movies I ever seen in my life. But y'all don't want to see nothing about that. Y'all rather see a man go up there and cross-dress on the big screen. The devil is seasoning you. He's seasoning you. He's giving you a little bit of seasoning at a time. Before you know it, your food gonna be too salty. Because you let a little bit at a time come in. Now I'm telling you, Will Smith, you know, this thing that he did the other day was just really a distraction for other things that was going on behind the scenes. But I'm just telling you, it ain't no coincidence. that he is as big as he is. Now let me show you who Benny Medina is and how he get down. Benny Medina is the one that's behind Will Smith's whole career. He chose Will Smith to play him in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air show. Will Smith like men. He might like women too, but he like men. Deal with it. It's the truth. Let me show you who this dude is, Benny Medina. Now watch this. Cause y'all don't believe, y'all think stuff is sweet. He didn't went up there and slapped that boy at the Oscars and this, that, and the third. They ain't go, and then people talking about, oh well, you know, and I can't believe they still let him stay at the awards and didn't kick him out and let him go up there and talk and speak. They ain't gonna mess with that boy. He got powerful, powerful friends on his side. His family is being used to usher in the new age philosophy of the LGBT mindset, because most of these people in the entertainment industry that's behind the scenes, that the CEOs of these companies is LGBT faggots. That's just what it is, man. Now watch this. I'm gonna show y'all something. Check out your boy Benny Medina, Will Smith's mentor.
Actor Jason Dottley has accused the television producer and music manager Benny Medina of attempted rape. Medina is best known for managing the careers of Jennifer Lopez, Mariah Carey, and Will Smith. According to the accusation, The Advocate reports Medina sexually assaulted Dottley while giving him a tour of his home. In an interview with the publication, Dottley recounts the story, which began when he met Medina in a West Hollywood bar in December 2008. Dottley was with a friend, fellow actor T. Ashanti Moselle. Medina approached them and eventually invited them to his house. Dottley was married at the time to TV writer Del Shores. At the house, while giving a tour, Medina attacked Dottley in his bedroom. Sexual aggression was interrupted by Ashanti.
All right, I'm gonna narrate this a little bit for y'all. Hold on, let's go back a little bit. Let's go back a little bit. It says, it's talking about when Benny Medina attacked the one guy. Hold on just a second. Bear with me. Moselle burst in the room and screamed something like, "Get off him!" I don't remember exactly what he said, but whatever he said worked, Dottley tells the Advocate. Benny Medina got off me and grabbed me again by the chest of my shirt and threw me at, not to, but at his bedroom door. And all he said was, "You two get the F out of here." Talking about how, you know, the boy came in, busted in on him while he was trying to while Benny Medina was trying to rape this boy. So right here it says Medina was the executive producer of the sitcom The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, a show that was reportedly inspired by his life. Like I told you, the Fresh Prince was made after his life, and Will Smith was chosen to play it. And he was chosen for a whole lot more by the devil. If you look at his family over the years and how they have metamorphosized into a heathenish, demonic example of what the Most High has set forth for a family to be. They are the opposite, 360 degrees opposite. And this is a representation of the devil's version of the American family, of what a family should be. Now I'm going to continue to play this video so you know who Benny Medina is. Let's go back. Let's go back. It says, rumors have long existed that Will Smith was made to perform sex acts on Medina to maintain his job and position in the industry. Of course he was, because that's the way the devil get down. The devil is a faggot. And if you're going to get down with him and roll with him, you're going to have to be a fag. I could have never made it in that music industry. Why? Because I don't roll like that. And to make it, and to get to the top of the game, that's what you got to do. Let's continue. It says, Will Smith is gay, claims transgender actress. Alexis Arquette says Hollywood star's first marriage broke down after wife caught him with top manager Benny Medina. Of course. Now he's slapping people on stage over a lesbian. Let's continue.
Alexis Arquette has made explosive accusations against Will Smith, saying that his first marriage ended after his wife walked in on him with a man. Arquette claims the reason Smith and his first wife Cherie Zampino split was because he was having an affair with Hollywood manager Benny Medina. She then goes on to say that Cherie was paid off. Arquette also goes on to claim that Jada, Smith's wife, is a lesbian and that Smith is a beard. The weird rant posted on Facebook suggested that Alexis was offended by their call to boycott the Oscars and they were being hypocrites as they weren't being true to themselves. The post has now been removed from the social media site. All a bit weird.
Oh, I didn't know that myself. A few months later, she was found dead.
Passing of one member of a powerful Hollywood acting family.
Talking about actress and transgender activist Alexis Arquette, sister of David Arquette and Patricia as well, has died at the age of 47. Her brother Richmond broke the news on Facebook, but said only that she died after a long fight with an illness. Didn't reveal the exact cause of death.
See, I was up for that Fresh Prince role, right? Benny Medina was my record head, record company head. I was up for the Fresh Prince role. But how I fucked that up is because I told Benny Medina straight to his face, "You're a fucking faggot." I told that nigga straight to his face. And right now I'm in Midtown with all these fucking homos right here. Faggot ass motherfuckers. I fucked up that right there when I told Benny Medina to his face, "You're a faggot." You know what I'm saying? And then look what happens with Fresh Prince. He's in their fold. Next thing you know, he's doing fucking 6 degrees of separation. I could have never did that movie. Will is my man in the whole nine, but I could never see myself doing that. Yeah, you're a $20 million making man right now, but what part of your soul did you sell?
What do you guys say to the rumors that Will Smith may have a questionable sexuality? You don't know, but you agree.
I'm not sure, but I will tell you this. I have a gut feeling and my gut don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
That he is gay.
Mm-hmm.
That Jada Pinkett is bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
That all that situation was just for the people. That his heart was never into being with a female. He's strictly gay.
Why do you think his first marriage went kaput?
Probably because he was young, stupid, and dumb and didn't know how to deal with being in a relationship with a female and sleeping with guys.
Medina is part of the Hollywood Executive Club that require their top clients to commit sexual acts in order to progress within the industry. If they refuse, they will be blacklisted. And that's like what I told y'all about that Merlin Bob guy when I was, up for signing a record deal, and that he was going to be the executive over me. And I heard that he supposed to have been liking me, and I ain't even met this dude. But in his mind, he probably had it set that, yeah, I'm going to give him a record deal. I'm going to make him big as Luther, but he going to have to sleep with me. I'd have beat the hell out of that dude, and I wouldn't have got that deal. But, because if he would have came on to me, I'm telling you, I don't get down like that. But I'm just telling you, this is what happens in the industry. The Most High didn't have that for me. He knew that he was going to call me for a bigger calling, and that he didn't want me to get caught up in that. Because if I'd have been caught up in that, sometimes I think to myself, oh, man, it would have been a beautiful thing if at that time things would have progressed in a good way, and we would have got, and that deal would have kept going, and I would have got my deal, and I could have helped my mother, and I could have helped, life be different for certain members of my family. But you know what? The Most High has guided my footsteps, I believe, for a long time, and he didn't have that for me. He knew what would happen if I went down that road. And, I probably wouldn't have came into the knowledge of this truth because I'd have been too caught up in that lifestyle, more than likely. But he let me see what was going on in that industry, so when other people came along, like G. Craig Lewis that was talking about it, I already knew how they got down. The Most High has showed me things that he probably hasn't showed some of you. Although, if you have any type of common sense or spiritual common sense, you should be able to read between the lines on certain things. But some of y'all, don't believe doo-doo stink. But this is the devil's design. In Hollywood, this is how he makes his people into icons. He makes them commit acts that if they try to break away at some point, he gonna out them. He traps them into being his soldiers. And that's just what it is. Harvey Weinstein. They all in the same gang, the same wicked, sodomite, pedophile, transgender circle of people. And the politicians is mixed in there too. They all in the same gang. Don't think otherwise. They all in the devil's gang. But you guys, but a lot of you, that's why the Most High say y'all are sottish people. A lot of you are stupid enough that you love to assimilate into the American culture, into the American entertainment culture and all of that. You love to assimilate into it. And you don't realize what's going on. Look at him.
Interview with Will Packer, the lead producer of Sunday's Oscars ceremony, speaking out publicly now for the first time about that behind-the-scenes chaos after Will Smith slapped Chris Rock on stage.
From Rock's stunned reaction to the LAPD saying they were ready to arrest Smith on the spot. He spoke with our TJ Holmes, who joined us now to fill us in. Good morning, TJ.
This is fascinating, guys. Now, we have heard, of course, from Will Smith. He put out a statement. We've heard from a couple of the hosts. We heard from the Academy letting us know that they have an investigation underway. But now we're hearing from a guy who was in charge of the entire broadcast. Will Packer was sitting right there just off stage when this moment took place. His reaction was the same as millions across the country. Confusion initially. It was followed by chaos and then conversations about what this thing was and the conversations many of us were having. Why was Will Smith allowed to stay in the room? Well, it turns out there was one person in particular, according to Will Packer, who was advocating for Will Smith to stay in the room. Chris Rock.
It sounds like Chris Rock had the ability, the option, to have the LAPD go arrest and remove Will Smith from that theater that night.
That's an absolute fact. The LAPD made it clear, we will do whatever you want us to do. And one of the options is that we will go and arrest him right now.
Will Packer is breaking his silence, giving details about what happened backstage in the immediate aftermath of that Oscar night shocker when Will Smith walked onto the stage and slapped comedian Chris Rock.
Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
That moment came after what we now know was an unscripted joke from Rock about Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, who's recently been vocal about her battle with alopecia.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
You're sitting, monitors around you. Tell me what's in your room around you.
I said, watch this. He's going to kill. Because I knew he had an amazing lineup of jokes that we had. We had him in the prompter. And ultimately, he did not get to one joke. He didn't tell one of the planned jokes. He was just immediately freestyling. But I tell you, if there's anybody that you don't worry about going out in front of a live audience and riffing off the cuff, it's Chris Rock. Nobody's better.
But even as Smith made his way up on stage, Packer wasn't worried.
And I thought this was part of something that Chris and Will were doing on their own. I thought it was a bit. I thought it was a bit like everybody else. I knew we hadn't practiced it.
Not concerned.
I wasn't concerned at all.
As he's walking.
I figured, okay, you know, he's going to say something or come at him. Something funny is going to happen because that's the nature of Chris and that's the nature of Will. So let's see what happens.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth. I'm going to, okay?
Once I saw Will yelling at the stage with such vitriol, my heart dropped. And I just remember thinking, oh no, not like this. And Chris was keeping his head when everybody else was losing theirs. And then, you know, gave the quote.
That was greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
But my heart at that point was just in my stomach because of everything about it and what it represented and what it looked like and who was involved. All of that was just, I never felt so immediately devastated like I did in that moment.
But it still wasn't until Rock walked backstage that Packer was finally convinced that Smith had actually struck him.
The winners are walking off stage. Chris is with them. And I immediately go up to Chris.
And you say what or you do what?
I said, did he really hit you? And he looked at me and he goes, yeah. He goes, I just took a punch from Muhammad Ali, as only Chris can. He was immediately, you know, in joke mode, but you could tell that he was very much still in shock.
It's fascinating to hear that you had a few minutes to try to process or understand what had just taken place. But not until Chris Rock came off stage. You still were not sure if he'd been hit.
I knew it was clearly a confrontational moment because of what was happening from Will in the audience, but I still wasn't sure that he had actually struck him. I made that clear, like, Rock, you tell me, whatever you want to do, brother. And he was telling me, I'm fine. Let's just get past this. I'm getting out of here. I can't believe this happened. The LAPD came and needed to talk to Chris. And so they came into my office and they were laying out very clearly what Chris's rights were. And they were saying, this is battery. We will go get him. We are prepared. We're prepared to get him right now. You can press charges. We can arrest him. As they were talking, Chris was, he was being very dismissive of those options. He was like, no, I'm fine. He was like, no. And even to the point where I said, Rock, let him finish. And they said, would you like us to take any action? And he said, no. He said no. And I didn't have any conversation with Will.
But the Academy says they asked Smith to leave, which he refused.
A lot of folks immediately were wondered why he got up, walked that far, assaulted somebody, went back to his seat, and was allowed to stay.
Right.
What was the conversation behind the scenes?
It happened to be right before the Best Actor award. Shayla told me that they were about to physically remove Will Smith. And I had not been a part of those conversations. And so I immediately went to the Academy leadership that was on site, and I said, Chris Rock doesn't want that. I said, Rock has made it clear that he does not want to make a bad situation worse. That was Chris's energy. His tone was not retaliatory. His tone was not aggressive and angry. And so I was advocating what Rock wanted in that time, which was not to physically remove Will Smith at that time. Because as it has now been explained to me, that was the only option at that point. It has been explained to me that there was a conversation that I was not a part of to ask him to voluntarily leave.
Will Smith later said on Instagram, I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line and I was wrong. I'm embarrassed and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be.
When did you finally get a chance to touch base with Will Smith?
Will Smith reached out to me the next morning and said, and he apologized. And he said, this should have been a gigantic moment for you. And he expressed his embarrassment, and that was the extent of it.
Now, Will Smith reportedly did apologize to board members in a Zoom call this week. They are going to make a decision. We expect sometime April 18th. Now, at the bottom of the hour, you're going to hear more in this interview, and you're going to hear how Will Packer really calls Chris Rock a hero for saving the day. Not just from what you saw on screen, on stage, but also behind the scenes. He almost just single-handedly saved the day and saved the Oscars. And you also hear...
Now, I wonder, is this a coincidence? Y'all tell me. Chris Rock was one of the advocates, one of the main celebrity advocates for, well, let me show you.
In the pandemic.
I've been just getting vaccines, Ryan. I just every day I get a new one.
Are you fully vaxxed now?
I got Moderna. I got the Pfizer. They make Viagra, so that's good.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I got the Johnson and Johnson. That's the that's the food stamps of vaccine. Johnson & Johnson.
I like the idea of a Johnson & Johnson. I took what was available. I mean, it was like, in New York City, it was a bit like Hunger Games at a certain point.
Comedian Chris Rock has tested positive for the coronavirus. In a tweet Sunday, Rock said, quote, "Hey guys, I just found out I have COVID. Trust me, you don't want this. Get vaccinated." The comedian has previously expressed his support for vaccines and said he is vaccinated himself. On an episode of The Tonight Show, he revealed he got the one-dose Johnson & Johnson shot. It's unclear what symptoms the 56-year-old is experiencing. We wish him and everybody battling COVID right now well.
See, if you come out and play into their narrative, you get rewarded as a celebrity. And now he on stage getting slapped by Will. And let's see what his reward was for getting slapped by Will.
Discipline. Proceedings for Will Smith's Oscar slap have begun as Chris Rock speaks out for the first time. Welcome, everybody, to Entertainment Tonight.
Listen, all eyes were on Chris last night as he kicked off his Ego Death stand-up tour in Boston. We were inside the venue where it was clear everybody loves Chris.
How was your weekend? I had like a bunch about what happened. So you came to hear that. I had like a whole show I wrote before this weekend.
Chris spoke on the subject for 53 seconds at the beginning of his set. A source tells ET Chris knew he had to address the elephant in the room.
I'm still kind of processing what happened. So at some point I'll come back and it'll be serious, it'll be fun.
ET field producer Darla Murray was inside the theater, which was sold out.
It was clear the crowd here was very much Team Chris. They greeted him with 2 standing ovations as he took the stage.
It took him several minutes to actually quiet everybody down and get ready for the show.
He was genuinely touched by the crowd's reaction. He definitely seemed a little shaken up, but as the show went on, we saw the Chris Rock that everyone was expecting to see.
And we're getting our first look at what Jada was doing when things started going off the rails. In this now viral TikTok video filmed from behind, Jada appears to lean forward in laughter after the slap as Chris says this.
Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
I saw Chris, and as soon as I walked up to him, the first thing he said was, "I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "Why are you apologizing?" He's like, "It was supposed to be your night. It was supposed to, you and Amy and Regina, y'all were doing such a great job. I'm so sorry. This is now going to be about this."
And another wild video just resurfaced.
Before you lose your head, get all crazy and toss your hands up.
This anti-violence PSA that Will filmed in 1992 is going viral.
Just think, the person that uses their head can always defeat the person that's just trying to use their hands.
Late yesterday, the Academy announced Will has been given 15 days notice of a vote regarding his violations and sanctions and has the opportunity to provide a written response. Will's fate could be decided at the board's next meeting, April 18th. The Academy also stated Will was asked to leave the ceremony, but 2 sources tell ET that Will was never told point blank that he needed to leave the Oscar show. Instead, at one point, it was suggested that he should leave. This morning, Oscar winner Whoopi Goldberg, who's on the Academy's Board of Governors, speculated about the terrible optics if Will had been removed from the Dolby Theater.
They come back from break.
Yeah.
Now, if he's in some sort of state and he's struggling and they're trying to get him out the door and it's still on camera.
So, I mean, let's put it all together. Was it real? Was it fake? It was a distraction. It was meant to distract you. The whole thing was meant to distract you from what was going on behind the scenes. Was it real? This whole thing is a soap opera. America, everything that they do is a soap opera. Now, your boy Chris Rock comes out advocating for the vaccines. They say, hey, you come out and advocate for the vaccines and we got something good in store for you, buddy. Now he gets slapped by Will Smith. And right after that, his show sells out. he just happens to be on a comedic tour right after the Oscars. And his shows is selling out. The devil is very slick. Oh. So he comes out advocating for the vaccines. Then he's a part of, then he gets to host the Oscars. And then he just happens to get slapped by Will Smith, the biggest actor, the biggest black actor arguably in the world. And he just happens to be on a tour after the whole world has got his name in their mouth because he got slapped. He just happens to be on a tour right after the Oscars. And now his tours are selling out. The devil really knows how to do it, don't he? And what was going on while Will was slapping Chris Rock and Chris Rock was getting elevated by the devil? Let's see.
Lifetime ago, but a moment that has haunted the family of Emmett Till and the nation for nearly 70 years.
It's with you all the time. I mean, you can't forget that, you just can't.
In 1955, Till was only 14 years old, visiting relatives in Mississippi when he was accused of whistling at a white woman, then kidnapped, beaten, and brutally murdered. His killers never convicted. His mother insisting on an open casket so the world could see what had been done to her child. Reverend Wheeler Parker, the oldest child seen here with Till, is Emmett's cousin. Parker is the last living relative to witness the abduction. What do you remember about that moment?
I remember hearing the men talk about 2:30 in the morning. I said, we're getting ready to die. These people are going to kill us.
Today, Reverend Parker was at the White House to bear witness once again, this time history being made in his cousin's name.
I just signed into law the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act.
President Biden signed the first law that makes lynching a federal hate crime, passed unanimously in the Senate this month.
Racial hate isn't an old problem. It's a persistent problem.
Congress had tried and failed to pass anti-lynching laws nearly 200 times for more than a century. The Emmett Till law imposes a prison term of up to 30 years on a person who commits a hate crime that results in death, serious injury, or that includes kidnapping, sexual abuse, or attempt to kill. And lawmakers who worked on the bill say it would apply to cases like the 2020 killing of Ahmaud Arbery, the 25-year-old black man who was killed by 3 white men. Arbery's killers were all convicted of federal hate crimes.
It took 100 years, over 100 years, but it tells us that there's hope.
Today's signing, a testament to a teenager never forgotten, a step forward in civil rights, long overdue. Kristen Welker, NBC News, the White House.
So it took them 70 years to do an anti-lynching bill to protect African Americans from being lynched. And now they will probably use that bill against African Americans. Do you think that that bill is just to protect us when they just implemented laws against anti-Asian hate just because of the COVID virus and what they were going through? But it took them 70 years to do an anti-lynching bill for you. But you don't know who you are. You don't understand why our race of people is the most disrespected race on the face of the earth. You still don't get it. Even though the Bible is telling you distinctly who you are, you don't catch those scriptures. They don't hit you in that way. The ox knows his master. But you have no clue. And what else was going on while Will was slapping Chris Rock? Let's see.
Donald Trump may have wanted to co-opt Russia for containing China, but the continued sanctions on Russia have only pushed it closer to China. And in a double blow for Washington, its trade war with Beijing has further brought Russia and China closer as they seek to forge deeper economic ties. Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping met in Moscow to decide, among other things, how to defang America's chosen weapon, the dollar. Looks like they're dumping it. Here's a report.
From pancake diplomacy last year to panda diplomacy this year. By the time the Putin-Xi talks concluded in Moscow, China and Russia had taken another step closer towards dumping the dollar and agreed to trade in their respective national currencies, the Russian ruble and the Chinese yuan. Clearly, Moscow and Beijing have signaled their intent to move away from the US dollar in a bid to clip Washington's dominance over the international system. Russia and China want to restrict Washington's bullying of other countries. The US is known to threaten countries with sanctions if they do not comply with its wishes. Russia and China intend to develop the practice of settlements in national currencies, Putin said after his talks with Xi. China and Russia agreed to promote the use of the yuan and the ruble in bilateral trade. The bilateral pact talks about cooperation on development of national payment systems and facilitation of cross-border payments in national and other currencies. Xi Jinping presented 2 pandas to Moscow's zoo at the ceremony with Vladimir Putin on Wednesday, in a gesture the Russian president described as a sign of deepening trust and respect between the two powers. Following the meeting, Xi and Putin signed the statements on elevating bilateral ties to the comprehensive strategic partnership of coordination for a new era and on strengthening contemporary global strategic stability. According to the joint statement on the strategic partnership, the China-Russia relationship has entered a new era and is facing new opportunities for greater development. Bureau Report, Beyond, World is One.
Donald Trump.
Uh-oh, America. They just dumped the American dollar. China and Russia just said to hell with the American dollar. To hell with the U.S. sanctions because we're attacking Ukraine. We're going to use other forms of currency to do business. The American dollar is no longer going to lead us. Now, what do you think America's going to do? When they can't get grain, they already saying they can't get grain, they can't get certain things from Russia because of the sanctions. So it may be food shortages. We told y'all about this stuff a long time ago. Some of y'all ain't stacked up. But we told you. The mark of the beast is coming. COVID is ushering it in. That is the layout for the scriptures that tell you that you won't be able to buy or sell without the mark. And pretty soon, whatever the mark is going to be will be laid out. And it will come through COVID and through this Ukrainian war. And that's what was going on while Will was slapping Chris Rock. While your eye was off the ball, Russia and China is forming unions to come against Babylon. And what else was happening while Will was slapping Chris Rock and taking your eye off the ball? While Russia and China was basically throwing the American dollar in the garbage. What would be the ramifications? Well, let your president that you wanted in there instead of Trump, you wanted him in there so bad, let him tell you. Not that Trump would be any better, but they all in the same gang. But let Biden tell you what was happening. Let your king that you voted for, even though the Most High told you, don't set a king above you that is not of your people, let him tell you what's happening.
With
with regard to food shortage, yes, we did talk about food shortages. And it's going to be real. The price of these sanctions is not just imposed upon Russia. It's imposed upon an awful lot of countries as well, including European countries and our country as well. And because both Russia and Ukraine have been the breadbasket of Europe in terms of wheat, for example, just to give one example. But we had a long discussion in the G7 with both the United States, which has a significant third largest producer of wheat in the world, as well as Canada, which is also a major producer. And we both talked about how we could increase and disseminate more rapidly food shortages. In addition to that, we talked about urging all the European countries and everyone else to end trade restrictions on sending limitations on sending food abroad. And so we are in the process of working out with our European friends what it would take to help alleviate the concerns relative to food shortages.
Imagine that. Food shortages, the American dollar in disarray. The devil's plan is all coming into vision. While you have your eyes off the ball and Will is slapping Chris.